Welcome to Money on Tap. Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do on this show. We look at all sides of the issues, and we bring a fully independent planning perspective to the table. Welcome. You are listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And today, folks, we are going to be running with an annuity show. But we're going to be exploring different ways that annuities can be your friend. And you may not have known that, but they have feelings too. And we're going to give them a fair shake today and find out different ways that annuities can be your friend. And, you know, before we get going on this, I want to just take a moment and pause and say thank you, Tony Scola, for joining us today. It's so good to see you, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, Seth. Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Where you been?
I've been, out helping people out ahead of the holidays. It's a busy time of year.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll catch up on that later. Anyways, it's good to see you, my friend. And without further ado, we're going to get around the horn here. Dan Mickelin, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing great. Very excited for this.
Yeah, because annuities are your friend, I'm sure.
They are.
Yeah.
If you haven't realized, Seth does not do a scripted intro.
No, when you've reached the heights of radio and podcast, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's just no comparison to where I am today. I don't need a script. I bring it all day long for you, Ben.
Well, thanks, Seth. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm excited about this show because I think annuities do get a bad rap, and they're not appropriate for everybody. They're not something that everybody should have. But I will tell you that it has solved problems for a lot of people that thought problems couldn't be solved. And I would say that in the right application, in the right scenario, you really can't outdo an annuity if done correctly. And I think we're going to talk about a lot of the mistakes people make inside annuity purchases and really bring some awareness around that. And I think all in all, this show is going to be interesting for some people because there's a lot of people out there that have objections automatically to some historical perspective to almost anything. Annuities seem to carry that badge, and I think the wirehouses have done an unfair job in bringing that down because they didn't even offer them forever. And then you have the insurance world who sells them to everybody and everything, and then you have to wonder, well, what's really the truth? And I think that's really where we want to get to at the bottom of this show and the next one we're going to do to follow up on it.
Well said. Well, and I will say this. It is time for Money in the News.
All right. First one up, we've got 10 things that you didn't know are included in the proposed Democrat spending bill. And I thought this was really interesting because obviously it's all over the news, right? We're being bombarded with this left, right, and center, and there's all this concern from either side of the aisle as to will this be done? And, as we often come to find out that these bills are absolutely massive, and it's not just the dollar amount that is massive about them. It's, what ends up being included. And, you think something like whether it's an infrastructure bill or a relief bill or whatever it is, that the items included would be somewhat related to the title they give it, but it's generally not.
I remember when the Obamacare bill was passed, and I remember on Fox News they were listing all the random things that were in the bill that had nothing to do with the bill, and it was like one of them was Boy Scout arrows. It was funny, and I remember laughing about it because it's just. And I really think our government needs a relevancy committee. Like, you got a committee for everything else. Why don't we have something that makes it at least make the topic relevant to the subject? Like, if it's in the bill and it's a health care bill, like, it's got to be for packing the wound of a kid in Boy Scouts that got shot by an arrow. Like
That's Obamacare. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. So, you know, I think honestly, it just the relevancy or lack of relevancy on all of these bills makes it so hard. And honestly, you know, I could sit here and knock on every congressman and senator for hours, either side of the table, right? But I really wouldn't want their job. Because, I mean, when you really think about it, every one of these bills has so much stuff. And then you start seeing the news ads when they're rerunning for elections. And it's like, you voted for the Boy Scout arrows or, you know, and it's like, you know, but I mean, they always throw all this crap at you that says, hey, listen, you voted for this. But in reality, it was just part of a bigger bill that they really had no control of or knowledge of.
The more we learn about these things, I don't want to go too far off topic here, but absolutely
let's go, Dan. Let's go.
Horrified to hear, you know, when some of these politicians get interviewed as a bill's being proposed or it's up for a vote, and they get asked a specific question, and what's absolutely blatantly clear is none of them ever read these bills.
Oh, none of them. I mean, I would say
the grades do it.
I would like to say 1 or 2% read them, but it's not even.
I gotta tell you, the first thing I noticed was that you introduced this as the article on the Democrat spending bill. And I was like, wait a second, is that what it's called? No, it's the Democrats Build Back Better bill. Just want to give it credit where credit's due, but I like the Democrat spending bill too.
Well,
let's read into what they exactly are building here. I think that's
All right.
That's going to be the interesting part, right?
go ahead, Dan. I'm interested to hear what you got to say.
Amongst the well thought out and obviously clearly valuable to all taxpayers component to this thing is there is a $900 tax credit for purchasing an e-bike. $35 cap on insulin costs.
Well, first of all, both of those don't go together because if you just didn't buy the e-bike and biked a little more, you wouldn't need the insulin to begin with.
That's right.
Well, I could use an e-bike.
Well, it's only going to cost you $35.
Right. After the $3,500 up front minus a $900 tax credit.
There's just so much stuff in here. Honestly, I think the entire bill shouldn't have been spent.
Yeah, it keeps on getting better here. So we got 12 months of Medicaid coverage for new moms. So there's going to be some value in that, right? They all need some help.
What about the dads?
Extra assistance for jobless to buy health insurance. Tax credit for local news outlets. Not even quite sure what that is or if it matters which network you support. But tax credits for those guys. College completion grants. That's interesting. You know, so now it's going to be free college education and you get a bonus when you're done. Public housing repairs, salmon conservation, and national parks and forest preservation.
Well, I'm gonna be a big advocate here for the salmon conservation if they do it well, because that's going to affect us here with our steelhead and our salmon in California and Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Alaska. I mean,
well, that's going to be the only industry you have after they're done burning down Portland.
Well, and it is $1 billion allocated towards that. So
yeah, I did kind of like some of the ideas. I kind of liked the way that they moved. I mean, the one was for the college completion grants was going to be basically it's going to be free education for community colleges, but they moved it as an incentive for completing or actually getting a degree. Where there's, 1 in 7 adults have taken some college courses but not completed a degree. That was an interesting little carrot there that they're willing to dangle out there for people that will go get that education.
The 2-year free college for a community college was actually dropped. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Okay.
They dropped it and they pushed this one in behind it.
Yeah.
I think that's a better done way to do it for sure. I like the incentive on completion more so than take the freebie courses.
Right, and it's not really a new idea. Any of us have worked for companies. A lot of employers had offered tuition reimbursement programs, and that was basically how it worked. You took the course, you submitted your grades, and if you passed, you were entitled to reimbursement.
I wish it was something that was applicable for some of the trade schools. We need craftsmen out there like
that's where the money should go
right now.
I mean, we don't need more people to go to college. We need people to go to trade school, but
have something useful.
Yeah,
right.
all in all, though, I mean. Yeah. We're going to pay people to go to college to do a completion to better their education. If you're working for somebody, they're benefiting from your knowledge increase and your development of skill sets, right? So that, as an employer, right, I'm paying somebody, go get educated, and I'll reimburse you for that because I'm going to benefit from that. Next up, we have an article on how to come up with a strategy to deal with your debt from Christmas. for the kid who's still sitting on the couch hoping he gets an e-bike for Christmas.
Yeah, tips for how to pay off the holiday bills as they pile up is the article here. And, what's interesting is I think it gives you just some general pointers as to how to go into the holiday season and come out of it without leaving yourself in complete financial ruin. And it's all just, kind of good housekeeping tips. I mean, there's not a lot of groundbreaking information here. But it was good to read through, and I think it's a good thing to share with people. And, it starts with take inventory, right? Come up with a list, understand what it is that you want to buy for people, what do you expect it to cost, and do your very best to adhere to that. Budget around it. If you have to put it on credit cards, to choose cards wisely based upon interest rate, available credit. Don't leave yourself in a credit lurch here.
Well, it's shocking to me that 1 in 3 Americans, according to the article, take on debt during the season. I actually thought it would be higher than that. I talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, yeah, just put it on the credit card. I'll figure it out after Christmas. I get a bonus in January or, whatever the story
Tax
is.
refund.
Right, yeah, all that stuff. The credit card interest rate is horrendous. So it even points to the article that, the average interest rate is 16%. I mean, that's a massive burden. There's always that unforeseen car repair and this, that, and the other thing that adds up. And all of a sudden, you just never get out of it. And so people open up these credit cards. They get a 0% interest rate for 6 months or whatever it is, right? But then they take cash out, which hits like the 25% interest rate, but that's the last thing you can pay off. There's just all these different gimmicks. And I would just encourage people in this season, and it's a time to enjoy life and to enjoy the people you're with. The size of your gift or the expense of your gift doesn't have any bearing on how much you love or care for somebody, but taking care of your financial health is going to do a lot more good for you than buying a little bit more expensive gift that's going to go into debt. Unless it's Dan buying for me, of course.
Yeah, my list gets longer and longer every day. It's still not quite there.
I know. But seriously, I mean, so many people, they just put so much money, and I would just encourage you, let's make it less than 1 out of 3 Americans. If you're listening to this show and you're digging through it, it's like when you go to the store, at the end of the day, what you spend is not relevant to how much you care about somebody or what they need.
And the article closes out with, if you do overspend, like lots of people find themselves in a position of doing, still no reason to panic. It's all right. Just make sure, though, that you recognize the issue you have and you build within your budget a plan to really pay that down and adhere to that. So what you don't want to do is make kind of a temporary overspend, a multi-year obligation to pay down and just be wearing that thing around your neck for longer than it needs to be.
Well, finally, our last news story of the day is 21 states most vulnerable to identity theft and fraud. And, I don't really think there's that much to note on all the states except for, the idea that, I'm surprised at a few of them, but, Washington State, which is not a surprise, was number 1 overall ranked between identity theft and fraud. It just goes Washington, Colorado, Kansas, Rhode Island, Delaware, Illinois, Nevada, and North Dakota. That's the top 8 worst states from that standpoint. Now, I did see Oregon as number 12. I did see...
Massachusetts number 9.
Yeah, which we don't like anyways.
Maine 13.
He's only saying that because I'm from Massachusetts originally. So.
They both are.
Hawaii's 27. Let's talk about
right,
that number right there.
I'm surrounded by Massachusetts guys in here. New Hampshire's 42. Come to New Hampshire. We won't steal from you. And number 51 was Iowa. Now, I did think Connecticut being number 50 was shocking.
Yeah, I saw the same thing. I was a little surprised as well to see Connecticut so low on the list.
That's actually pretty shocking to me.
I just realized that District of Columbia was 17. For a second there, I was wondering where we got our 51st state from, because that was not news that we reported on.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you. Now,
yeah,
I think we should I think really the idea of this article is more so because we're going into the holiday season, and a little bit of what we want people to be prepared for is just to watch out for the opportunities. I mean, identity theft and fraud happen in every state. That's a fact. And so, don't allow yourself to be, vulnerable. Look at simple things that aren't even in this article. I mean, like I have a wallet that has some sort of stuff in the wallet that's supposed to protect the cards from getting read. Because I've had 2 cards got hacked that way by being swiped by somebody, at a gas pump or whatever it was. And, those are things. But sign up for a credit monitoring plan. I noticed that some homeowners insurances actually include that, or your P&C insurance agency. We have somebody here, Sarah Vazani, can look into that for you and leverage that account to give you some real updates. Don't keep your Social Security card in your wallet. That's a big item. Your wallet gets stolen, boom, it's gone. And then there's just a lot of scams right now with the COVID-19. There's a lot of people that are kind of digging through, making phone calls, trying to get information for you, because there's a lot of plans out there, and people need money. I mean, there are people who have really suffered through this experience, jobs lost, businesses lost, and they act as if the government, you're a new plan, there's a new opportunity for you to get more funds. Sign up here. That's been a big deal, and that's things you need to watch out for. And then finally, we have social media. That is a huge, huge problem in our world from an identity theft scenario, and something, if you're not familiar on how to deal with that, I would definitely get some help in understanding that better.
Something that we really don't have control over ourselves is the impact on major corporations. I'm sure we've got notifications before about changing emails or passwords and stuff like that when the companies have been hacked and they've had data breaches there. But so I guess the only thing I'd have on that is trying to use secure passwords and changing them regularly. I know it's kind of a pain in the neck. You have 27 different accounts with separate passwords, and you're constantly having to update them and keep track of them. But that definitely has a reason behind it, and then not being too frustrated when your bank calls you because they haven't approved a charge just because they want to make sure it's you before they actually process the payment. So maybe understanding that that's actually to your benefit, and to have a little bit of patience and understanding if that were to happen to you.
Wise words, Mr. Scola. Thank you so much. And you guys, that's going to do it for Money on the News. You're listening to Money on Tap, and this right here is an annuities show, because annuities can be your friend. And we're going to get back here in a couple of minutes right after this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
If you're listening today and, your questions are outside the box of estate planning or financial planning or any number of the pieces that we kind of traditionally talk about, don't forget that Brayshaw Financial offers auto, home, and business insurance. And we have an entire department that handles all of that for you. Give us a call at 855-226-8551 and be happy to take care of those needs for you. Or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com.
Now back to Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Folks, I just want to take a moment to thank you, because you could be doing anything you want right now, but with your time, you're spending time with us at Money on Tap. You're educating yourself. You're becoming aware of how to take care of personal finances, and you're getting it from a group of experts that work in the field every single day as financial planners. That's what we do at Brayshaw Financial Group. So thank you. It's good to be here with you, and we appreciate you when you call us and you have questions and or email us. And some of those things actually wind up becoming topics in our show, believe it or not. Either way, we're here to help, so feel free to give us a call. And if you're also wanting to kind of get boned up on a couple of things that we're offering right now, there's a Social Security webinar that you can call us at 855-226-8551. And you can check out the Social Security webinar that we're going to be hosting here this next week. And other than that, we've got a heck of a show here for you, because annuities can be your friend. And to get us going, Dan, would you please kick us off with a little bit about what are we even talking about when we say annuities?
Yeah, well, it's a product and a tool and a concept that's really been around for centuries. I mean, it really goes back a long way. And it began back in the Roman Empire. It's actually how they used to pay Roman soldiers their salaries and offer a stipend for those who didn't come back. Was funded by annuities. So that was the onset and the kind of the inception of that whole concept. And really, what it did then and it does now, it's a pooled asset, right? So money gets paid into a pool, potentially for a single beneficiary or multiple beneficiaries. And that money gets paid back over time with interest is really what an annuity is in its definition. And they've taken different forms and different styles, and we're going to go through the different types that exist today in the financial planning and insurance world. But there's been a lot of examples throughout history of people who've benefited from annuities in some form or fashion. Benjamin Franklin actually used them in assisting the cities of Boston and Philadelphia and helping those cities get up and running. And he established one that we mentioned in the show a couple weeks back that's actually still paying out grants in the city of Boston, which is incredible. Babe Ruth was famous for having used annuities to shelter his assets through the Great Depression. He was one of the biggest earners in the country at that time, being a countrywide, worldwide famous baseball player. And with the country going through hard times, he wanted to protect the wealthy to the mass, and he used annuities to do it. And one very recent but not so popular example of that is O.J. Simpson, right? He's we've all seen in the news and know his kind of infamous story, but he had all those civil lawsuits filed against him that he lost, and he owed the Brown family, I think it was $20 million. But you see him out there in the news every once in a while, social media, wherever it may be, kind of living his life, playing golf all the time, frequent casinos. It's because his money that he'd earned through the NFL and through his acting career was all put into annuities. And one of the benefits, not to highlight that for him in particular, but is that annuities are not attachable by creditors. So that money that's out there is protected by the insurance company, and they're guaranteed to live up to their obligation to make a series of payments back to you. And again, that money cannot be seized by a creditor. So, again, kind of a glorified story in the wrong way there, but it does speak to the strength of the product and how it can help people out in certain times.
I think it's hilarious how a couple of the things that you just bring to the table right out of the gate, Dan, is, if you're going to war and you're a country, that might be a good thing for you to have. Or if you happen to be in O.J. Simpson's line of work, then maybe that's something for you to consider as well. And that's...
Well, and against that, I mean, to Dan's point, I mean, there's been a lot, or Ben, when he kicked off the topic today, there's a lot of stigma around it. And there have been other shows. I get calls from clients, from prospective clients all the time asking about it when it comes up, that they heard on this particular show, or beware this, that, or the other thing. But you mentioned some other famous people who have utilized them. Ben Bernanke himself in 2006 disclosed that his major financial assets are in annuities. So... it's tough to dispute some of the negative stigmas and things that we're going to talk about today to look out for. But in reality, as Dan mentioned, they've been around a very, very long time, and they serve an extremely valuable purpose, especially in planning and being able to support yourself and your family in all kinds of different scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, what I end up hearing, and I hear this almost all the time. So the person before you shut off the show because you're like you have a bad experience because a aunt uncle had a bad annuity purchase. I've always told people that either it's suitable or unsuitable. It's either appropriate or not appropriate for you, and everyone has the unsuitable or not appropriate story of why they dislike annuities. And honestly, it's probably one of the most versatile tools in our industry for retirement planning. And so you have a lot of friends out there that probably own annuities, but there's always that person that says, well, my great aunt owned an annuity, and then she started the annuity and she died, and then there was all the money was gone. And is that possible that she purchased something like that? Absolutely, those type of annuities do exist. Very few of those are sold anymore. It used to be that people would just put their money in an annuity and expect a lifetime payment from the insurance company. And yeah, when they passed away, the annuity, the risk was the insurance company kept the remaining funds, or the person lived to 120 and the annuity company had to keep paying the insurance company. Well, annuities have morphed so far beyond that to today into meaning so much more and providing so much more opportunity. And providing for those concerns to be, mitigated across the board, where you're not losing all your money and, these things aren't disappearing and that stuff. All those, they're old wise tales at this point. I mean, they just don't happen. I mean, there's too much compliance and investigation and understanding and disclosure before you could ever make that mistake. But I would say that, as you kind of walk through the annuity conversation to figure out if a retirement and an annuity makes sense for you, for a lot of people, they lack the ability to have a pension at work in today's world. And really, the way I look at this and the way I communicate with clients on a regular basis is that an annuity is not an investment, even though it does qualify as an investment, and it's an insurance-based investment for the most part. I tell people to think of an annuity as the pension plan they never received. Because nobody has all of their retirement in a pension plan, right? Even companies with pension plans have 401ks or 403bs, or you have a Roth or an IRA out there. It's not all your money. But it's nice to have that base, that kind of foundational piece coming through the door. And if you're working like the majority of Americans today that come to me with interest in trying to solve their retirement concerns, we talk about the pension they wish they had that their parents did. Their parents had this, my dad had a pension and my mom got it for the rest of her life, and I really wish my company provided that. The annuity is a better story than a pension, and a lot of people don't realize that. And a lot of people don't realize that pensions have gone by the wayside because companies have realized that providing for a lifetime of income for somebody is extremely difficult, and that it's best done in the hands of the financial institutions, right? IBM, you can go through all the major corporations that have terminated their pensions for new employees. All the big boys, because they know that running their business alone has enough difficulties that they don't want to have to worry about paying you for the rest of their lives and your life, through that process. And honestly, everyone knows that the investment companies are the best at doing this. And annuity, it just means guarantee to pay. And knowing that you have that, I think, takes a lot of the misnomers of annuities aside. So I think walking into kind of the context of how I see annuities and how you guys see annuities is really how I think when we talk about the mistakes people make might give them a better idea on this.
And I agree 100%, Ben. That's really where I start the conversation if I get somebody who's considering retirement, whether they've brought up annuities or not. Same story. It's not, first and foremost, not an investment. It may have an investment component, but it is designed to be an income replacement vehicle. And it really helps people make that transition and not worry. One of the challenges I see a lot with folks is, they want to enter retirement and do the things they always dreamed about doing, but then the fear is if I start spending that money, if I spend it down too quickly, the market drops, my account values drop. Am I going to have enough to last? And the big variable that nobody knows is when their last day on the planet is going to be. There's probably a very rare person that does know the answer to that question. And, a big concern I see with my clients is, I want to do these things. I want to be able to spend this money. I want to enjoy the things that I've always dreamed about doing. But if I do it too soon and run out, where does it leave me? Yeah.
No, you're right about that. And I think the thing about the annuity piece is that, it resolves the concern of the market. See, what people don't understand is that in retirement, it's not about how much you make. It's about how much you don't lose. And what I mean by that is that you're going to be more worried about the market going down than you ever will about how much the market goes up in retirement. And if you're retired now, you're probably saying, oh, yeah, he's right. That's a piece. But to illustrate that, if you have 100% of your money and you take $10,000 of that money out in income, and then the market drops 10%, well, then it goes down another 9% in your account value. So you're down to 81% of your money. But you've only taken 10% out, $10,000 of that $100,000. Just to get back to square one, you need to do 24%. 240% more than the market's original loss. That means you have to be the best financial advisor in the world to overcome that. And that's why that video of sequence of returns on our website, we've referenced it a few times. Go to BrayshawFinancial.com, go to our resources, hit the videos, and watch sequence of returns. And watch how withdrawing money just starting at different times with the same amount of money in the same capacity, in the same investments, can put you on totally different trajectories. super important in understanding that. And I that's really good that you bring that up, Tony, because that's where it's at.
Well, thanks, Ben.
Folks, you're listening to Money on Tap, and we are in an annuity show. Can annuities be your friend is the topic we have here today. We're going to take a quick break. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And when we come back, folks, there are some big mistakes that people have made in the past, and we recommend not. And we're going to disclose and have some of that conversation next. Can't wait to get back to the table here with you guys. You're listening to Money on Tap. We'll be right back. Folks, we have a lot of fun doing this show, Money on Tap, and Ben and I have been financial planners for years and years, and our goal here with you is to bring you into the room, have the conversations that we have. We think these are critical conversations for you, but we understand this is a limited space, and what we'd love to do is to open the doors to you with us at Brayshaw Financial Group, so you could experience what it means to have three-dimensional planning in your life. Let's take a look at all sides of your situation, your scenario, and see how we can put together the best plan possible, taking into account your risk. How much can you have in the market? How much do we need to have set aside and doing different things for your life? That's what we do as planners, how we engage with you, and we welcome you to do that with us. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Now, if you have $250,000 that are investable assets today, our planning is free to you. We want you to have the playbook to have a successful experience in retirement. Give us a call, 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Ben and I welcome you to Brayshaw Financial for complete wealth management.
Now back to Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Last time when we came back, we talked about you calling in to the number and having an experience that very, very few people get, which is us talking about taxes and investments, because that's what we do. But you can do that in a webinar with us, and it's engaging. It's a way that you can become educated and, in the comfort of your own home or wherever you're at. Feel free to give us a call at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com and sign up for our taxes and investments webinar. We're talking today about annuities and how they can be your friend, which to understand that, we're going to actually talk about how they can't be your friend first, right? Because there's lots of mistakes out there in everything that's out there that people can make all the time. We've got 7 here for you that we've brought to the table, and we're going to highlight here. Dan, would you like to go ahead and grab number 1?
Sure, yeah. So the first thing is that annuities is kind of a broad-based segment of the product tools that are out there that we offer. So it's important to choose the right type of annuity, or equally as important, don't choose the wrong one. And they range from an immediate annuity. Okay, so that's what a lot of people think of, where you give your money to the insurance company and they immediately begin paying you a stream of income. And there's lots of different ways to style that, over whether it's over a lifetime, over a joint life expectancy, so it covers you and a spouse perhaps, or for a finite period of time. You could get a series of payments for exactly 5, 10, 20 years, whatever period you might like. So that's fairly simple, generally pretty low return. What you're doing there is handing in your hard-earned cash for the guarantee, for the promise of future payments, which is, from a planning perspective, can be a valuable thing. There's the multi-year guaranteed annuity, which gives you, as a deferred annuity, a guaranteed interest rate over a set period of time. So you choose the period of time, whether it's 2, 3, 5, 7, up to 20 years long, and the insurance company will give you a guaranteed preset rate of return for each and every one of those years. So pretty similar to a CD at a bank, except a little longer term. Then we have fixed indexed annuities, which is a fixed annuity, that gives you a rate of return or an interest rate that's associated with a major market index. But it's important to note in these is that the money itself is not in the market. And because of that fact, the insurance company can guarantee you no loss whatsoever. So whatever you invest as a principal amount will not go down, will not be lost if the market recedes. The trade-off for that is if the market is up and moving forward, you will get just up to a cap or a participation rate. So you will get some portion of those positive returns, likely not all of it. And then you have your variable annuity, which is also a very commonly used tool, but there's been a lot of innovation in that particular segment in the last couple of years. But a variable annuity is where the insurance company is wrapping up a bundle of investments that you can select, and there's a lot of options there that we can work with you on. But the money that you invest there inside of the annuity is in fact exposed to the market, does have the potential for loss. So you do need to choose wisely. But the upside, the benefit there is that there's different features built within the product where the insurance company will guarantee you a lifetime income off of a peak value, for instance. That's just one of the features. Or they'll protect you against some of the potential loss exposure, again, for a trade-off on the upside. So just as an example, one of the ones that we're looking at and using with some folks, they have a buffer feature built into it, which what it says is that if the market was to go down, let's say 10%, the first 10% of losses the insurance company would essentially refund to you. Anything beyond a 10% loss would be the risk that you bear as the investor. But the first 10%, should the market go down, would be paid back to you. And the trade-off for that is that there's an upside cap on it. So somewhere between, depending upon the allocation you choose, 9 and 13% would be your maximum upside. So that's a way to get a little bit more relevant market participation than what's offered in the fixed indexed annuity realm, but at the same time not take a full leap into the market and expose all of your assets to potential loss. So that's an interesting product that we're taking a look at. And really what's important to note, because these products can be complex, there's an awful lot of them out there, they all do offer different features, is that you can give us a call anytime or drop us an email, and we'd be happy to, at no charge, offer you a free consultation on whatever it is that you happen to own.
Yeah, and I think about the annuity world is that, especially the variable annuity world, is that it comes with the full market scare, right? I mean, you could lose everything in reality, and then at some point in time, you're just asking. Annuity means guarantee to pay, so there's some sort of guarantee, whether it's income, whether it's a potential loss in an investment, whether it's a death benefit. It could be any number of things, and that's really what it comes down to. Whether you're buying variable, fixed indexed, immediate, there's all these different names and titles, and it sounds scary and confusing. And I think we're going to get to the reason why we're talking about all these as we kind of move down the ladder here. But in reality, when you're looking to solve a problem that you need resolution to, you have to buy a guarantee. If you got to solve the problem, you're like, hey, listen, I want to be able to walk across this bridge. Well, do you want to build it out of, plexiglass, or do you want a piece of steel? And so depending on how long the bridge is, you might need steel. And so that's where you start engaging, investments that can accomplish solutions that will meet your needs. And I think that's where the planning piece comes in. And you have to have the understanding and the comprehension of the entire marketplace to really help somebody choose. Like, you can't just be an insurance agent and work in the variable annuity world. But you can't be a securities licensed person and sell a variable annuity if you don't have the insurance license, right? So so there's this mixed match of licensing and understanding, and then there's training and awareness and development, and then there's just being seasoned in the business. And I think that's what we're trying to bring to the table here today, is the seasoning that we offer in that piece. Number two kind of runs us right into the conversation of the variable annuity space, but it's also the fixed annuity space, which is understanding the fees. One of the biggest complaints we hear about is that, annuities are expensive. Well, it's funny because some annuities don't have fees. So they're not expensive, from that perspective, right? So, if you've heard that annuities are very expensive, there are ones that are expensive. They're insurance. And the more guarantees you add into insurance, or the more you insure yourself, the more expensive it is. Like if you want to insure your car for a zero deductible and you want to protect against hitting 40 school buses and killing all the kids, I mean, then you could horribly cover yourself, right? But at the same time, most people get a $500 or $1,000 deductible, and they understand the general risks, and that insurance costs less. So the more that you need to wrap up everything, the more expensive it gets. And that's where understanding the expense piece comes in.
Well, and that brings me to another point that I talk to folks about. As Ben mentioned, that they do get more expensive the more that they refer to as riders or benefits you may add on. And I use the car analogy or the television analogy where you buy a car nowadays and you've got 360-degree cameras and lane departure warning and everything else. And, well, hey, it's part of the price. Well, no, you're paying for it. So when we have this annuity conversation, it's usually what are you trying to solve for? Because if you start adding on a bunch of features and benefits that you're never going to use, then you're throwing good money after bad in terms of expenses. But in the end, most of the benefits are net of fee. So it's also something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and not realizing annuity returns, may not match the investment world that you're expecting. And that goes into that fixed index annuity product. And that's one of the stigmas that came out of that when those products became very, very popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. And they were probably oversold because people were not given the full explanation as to how they operate and how they behave. And a couple of misconceptions came out of that. So we talked a little bit about where in the fixed index annuity, specific to that again, if the market goes down, you will not lose your premium. If the market goes up, you're likely to participate in a portion of those gains but not capture them all. And the biggest misnomer that came out of that, and I've heard this often, is, well, if my product is capped at 4% and the market returns like it's doing this year, 26, 27%, well, does that mean the insurance company kept the other 22? And the truth of it is, no, they did not, because the money is not in the market itself. Insurance companies build these complex derivative in bond portfolios behind the scenes in order to put themselves in the best position to pay out on their promises. But they're not putting all that money directly into the market because they would not be able to protect themselves if that was the case. If the market went down and they had to refund every bit of it to you, they'd be insolvent. So nobody's keeping that gain that you did not realize. It's important to understand.
Yeah, they use that as the measure of your performance. It is not what you are performing based on. And I think that's really, really important. And, you just, when you walk into an annuity piece, and I always tell people, like, when you're buying an annuity, if the guarantee that you're buying, whether it's an income, death benefit, just protection on the downside of performance, or, you just don't want any loss, you just want a pure fixed annuity. And I mean, you can buy a fixed annuity you can buy for 5 years fixed at 3.15% today. Well, that's better than a CD, right? Okay, those are great scenarios. But, when you're ready to replace your CD, it's something you should give us a call, because annuities will beat that most of the time. But you need to understand that, the returns on an annuity are not important. It's the guarantees that you're buying. Because you buy guarantees because you expect that's what you need to solve your problem. If you buy an annuity with the expectation that performance is going to happen to solve your investment issues, you have the wrong perspective. If the guarantees meet your needs, then everything else is gravy. Everything else is hunky-dory. It's just going to be better off. And that's, if you're not approaching it from that perspective, I think that you're really kind of going after the wrong direction.
Folks, you're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We're talking about annuities and how they can be your friends. And if you missed the earlier opportunities, just want to give you a heads up. We have a couple webinars here for you at Brayshaw Financial Group and Money on Tap. You can log in to us at brayshawfinancial.com and join us for a Social Security webinar or a taxes and investments webinar. Again, you just reach out to us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com to get signed up for those. And something else. Dan, thank you for reminding me that we want to make sure that if you have an annuity out there and you're looking at this saying, what is this? How does it work? What's going on? Bring it to us for a free annuity review. for one, you need to know and understand and have some kind of an idea what this is and how it works for you. And it's an experience that frankly is a lot of fun for us because it gives us an opportunity to just help you in your financial journey. So a couple of different ways and a couple of reasons that you want to reach out to us at 855-226-8551. And that's going to do it for that. But Tony's got more.
I do. And I think you made some good points there, Seth. And you know, knowledge is power. And, you know, we do enjoy educating our friends and our clients, and you know, it helps take away that fear and that uncertainty about this. But as you've already heard, you know, these are clearly complex products, and there's a lot of options and a lot of licensing and regulation involved around it. So finding somebody that's qualified to do this and help you find the right fit is what's really the most important. But, you know, being about halfway through, one of the other pitfalls or things to be concerned to look out for, you know, just goes to emphasize the you know, the need to consult and really look into this is the tax consequences. Annuities, like a retirement plan, are tax deferred, but withdrawals are taxed, and they could be taxed at different rates. So, you know, it's a very detailed part of the planning process, especially depending on what you're looking at annuity for, whether it is for tax deferral and you're using it as an investment vehicle, or if it's an future income vehicle with a guarantee to help you supplement your lifestyle in retirement. So sometimes the tax piece can be a challenge, and other times, you know, it's maybe not as big of a deal, but it is definitely something that needs to be taken into consideration when evaluating whether or not annuity is a good fit and what type of annuity is right for you.
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, a lot of people don't even understand that, you know, just basically annuities, when you take out distributions, the gains aren't taxed as long-term capital gains. It's taxed as ordinary income. And so depending on where your ordinary income tax bracket is could really impact on, you know, when's the right time to draw from an annuity. Because, you know, people say, hey, you know, if I take it out right now, I'm going to, you know, I've got too much income and, you know, something happened this year. It's like, you don't want to touch the annuity. That's not where your lower tax scenario is. It's going to be probably your long-term cap gains. And that's where financial planning comes into play, right? That's the first piece. The second piece I would say on the annuity piece is that we talked about CDs earlier, and, you know, people make money on CDs, and that's great. But, you know, when you put it into a fixed annuity and you can potentially get a better rate, you can tax defer that gain, so you're not paying taxes every year like you do on a CD. Difference is you have to understand the taxable burden and when you take it out and how that will compare relatively.
Right. So you can definitely use them to take advantage of that compounding deferral, like Ben mentioned, but also as a consideration of the age, because they are really designed to be a retirement vehicle. You could also be looking at, you know, an early surrender penalty like an IRA or a 401k if you take money out at the wrong time. So again, something you want to speak to a professional about. So give us a call.
Yeah, and it's important to keep in mind, like that IRA point you just made, Tony, before we move on to the next, is that age 59 and a half, right? So you've got to be beyond age 59 and a half before you start taking distributions from an annuity. There are some ways around that, but just as a general rule of thumb, that's very important. Another risk and another concern is not understanding the financial risk. That in fact, there are some types of annuities that you can lose money in depending upon what happens in the market. So understanding particularly the difference between a fixed indexed and a variable annuity is critically important. They're often sold in kind of the same manner, loose conversations around indexes. It's critically important that if you own a product that is tied to an index, that you understand, again, whether it's a fixed index versus a variable, because from a risk-reward perspective, they're entirely different. Very, very important.
And I think, you know, we've mentioned it a few times, you know, an annuity review is probably the most important opportunity for you to really understand what you own, because most people buy things and they, even if they've owned them for 10 or 15 or 20 years, I've met people that have owned annuities, they don't even know what they own. And that's a common thing. So you're probably listening to this. You're not alone in that piece. And, you know, losing money doesn't just come into a you know, maybe a variable annuity where you lose money in the stock market. I mean, if you leave an annuity early, the surrender charges, there's fees, there's expenses, there's costs to potentially leave early. And you got to be careful that you don't meet somebody who just wants to roll you from one annuity to another. I mean, there's times when moving from one annuity where you've matured out of into another one, and there are relevant times for that. But, you know, there are people who just like to move you from annuity to annuity. Oh, you're going to pay a fee here, and then you're going to benefit here. And there's the swap scenario, and you got to be careful that the swap is really in your best interest. And People can paint a lot of pictures and make everything look good, but that's not always the case, and you got to be careful on that. So,
yeah. So, double checking, right? You have to realize that not everything out there, at a glance or at first value, is right for you, even though the benefits might seem huge or amazing. And that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you're sitting down with this and going through a fiduciary consultative review to make sure that everything's lining up and working well together. And that's one of the last things I would say here too, is that just if you're in a situation with an annuity, make sure that it's a fiduciary financial advisor, that you're sitting down, going through the process and understanding these different parts and pieces, what has value, what doesn't. If you can, take what you can and leave the rest. But yeah, we've seen so many people that just have cautionary tales in and around not understanding these exit clauses and some of the financing there, or really just having, unfortunately, kind of been in a sales situation where it was all about the sale and not necessarily about their best interest here. You guys, is that it?
Well, I was just going to say, Seth, that, one thing that, all four of us are fiduciaries. And so I think, knowing that what a fiduciary is that we have to look out for your best interest, and we have to justify it. We have to actually report on why it's your best interest, not just say it, and actually live it and communicate it to people who have oversight. Is important to work with somebody who has that responsibility, right? At the end of the day, when you're actually making that decision and you're working with somebody, you need to know that your best interests are at heart. Now, I don't think anybody who's listening to this show probably wouldn't work with somebody that they didn't have some sort of, interested or appealed trust that was already built, whether it was a friend or a relationship or somebody referred you over to somebody. But at the end of the day, you want to know what beyond that keeps them square the rest of their life. Dan and I, we audit financial planners too, and we look at a lot of different things. And every bad advisor usually started out pretty good. Like they weren't making mistakes, they weren't cutting corners, and all of a sudden something happens and they start drifting off of that. And so, I would encourage people to, figure out what the background is and what keeps your advisor square, what keeps them in frame for your best interest. And, it's nice to know when you're working with a fiduciary, working with an annuity, that you have a little bit more oversight and a little bit more awareness. But I think the annuity review is something that you can't. And it's free. You want to walk through this door and go through an annuity with one of the four of us. We'll sit down with you, no cost, go through it and dig out and help you really understand what you have. And you know what? If it's anything different than the financial professional that sold it to you, now you have something to compare it to and find out where the story is. Now, it could be that you misunderstood it because these are the most complex investment products on the marketplace. I don't think anyone would say anything different than that, right? So I think that's all I would add, Seth.
Well, the only thing I add to that too is, pretty much what we're encouraging you to do is ask questions. A lot of people, they're afraid to ask the questions to maybe not look like they knew what they were doing, or maybe jumped into something that they didn't completely understand. And whether you're thinking about getting into it or you already have, you have a right to know and you have a right to ask questions. And if the person at the other end of the table isn't willing to answer them or, wants to skirt around it, it's a red flag. You should completely be transparent. As we've talked about through this whole session, is there's multiple options, and being able to mix and match and combine and search out the right fit, there usually is a really good solution out there. But it takes some work. It takes some knowledge and some experience and some doing. And, you have the right to question it. If somebody comes right out of the gates and just says, oh, this is right for you, without really finding out enough about you, your background, and your goals, objectives, and risk profile, then how could they know that that's the best fit for you? So, take the time to figure it out, and as I said, ask questions. Don't be afraid to put people on the spot.
So what I heard you say right there, Tony, is that if I'm sitting down and there's an annuity sale situation and they say Ben Bernanke owned these, I should probably buy it. But if they tell me that O.J. Simpson owned these, I should probably run the other way.
I wouldn't say that's reason, but again, what is their reason for buying
that's the whole show. Folks, we're so grateful for the time that we get to spend here with us, with you. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. You've been listening to the Annuities Show. Annuities can be your friend. And if that annuity review is you, give us a call. And we look forward to sitting down and just getting into what that is and how it works for you, as well as you might be in the taxes and retirement zone and wanting to do the webinar with us that way. Or there's the Social Security webinar. All of those, you can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Hopefully you make it a great week, folks. Thank you so much.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.